I thought of talking about this after I did Is Nostalgia Killing Film video. Fanservice, I wouldn't say is the same thing as using nostalgia. Fanservice is pretty much giving the fans what they want, while nostalgia is using your childhood to get people to watch. So now I have this question: is fanservice good or bad? Well, it depends on the situation in the movie. Sometimes it's used for a big moment the audience was anticipating, or sometimes it's added to be a crowd pleaser with no emotional weight to it. So with those two things in mind, we'll figure out what's good or bad. I'll get into the specifics as we go on. This is a moment that got fans cheering and losing their minds in the theater. Now, would this be considered good or bad fan service? Well, this is a climactic part in the movie where help is needed in the context of everyone having been snapped away and came back. This scene makes a very cool moment of everyone coming together and something everyone was anticipating. The setup in the story in the scene was great. Ultimately, this was made to benefit the story and the climax of multiple movies building up to this one point in the finale. Well, sort of a finale. I would say this is good fan service because of what it does for the story and the emotions that's carried with it. It's not just putting it in there just to put it in there. That's what she said. It's used as a big moment in the story and not just a cameo. Here we go. Now I'm going to stick to Marvel and talk about Multiverse of Madness. The scene where you have other heroes appear out of nowhere just to kill them off is terrible fan service. This did nothing for the story and only served to please the audience, but didn't add any climax to the story. If you're going to make a movie with fan service, don't make it just random character everyone likes appears. Actually put effort into involving them in the story. DC is also guilty of doing this with Wonder Woman every other movie, and they even did it with Superman and Deathstroke. I know I'm using superheroes as an example a lot, but I'm going to get into a very interesting one that's going to be a little controversial. The Super Mario movie. This movie is riddled with references to the games, so much that it's almost like it's trying to distract from the problems in this movie. I know the typical reaction is, it's just a kid's movie. If you watch my channel, kids' movies deserve good writing and directing and become great movies. The Mario movie has a very cliche and formulaic story. The references to the games is something that distracts the audience instead of adding anything to it. If these references serving as fan service wasn't in the film, I don't think it would have been as well received. I would say it's bad because its purpose isn't for the story, but to distract. There's some cases it does work in the movie, like the Mario Kart race and the power-ups. If it immerses you into the world, it'll work. It's an odd case because it was able to use both good and bad. Bad in the sense of it was distracting from the story rather than adding to it, and good in the sense it was being immersive. Now I'm going to go on and talk about fan service in the more perverted side. Yeah, we're going to talk about Fire Force. Now, there's fan service about adding like cameos and stuff like that people like, and it's also used for seeing anime girls' big bahungas. Not all anime do this, though. Attack on Titan doesn't do this, and the only time it sort of did it was on an OVA, and it was just Mikasa's abs. Marvel also does this with its shirtless muscle men that make the women go awooga. Now, is this good or bad fan service? Yeah, it's honestly just there for something nice to look at. Out of all the anime I have watched, Fire Force is the most guilty I've seen. I know there's probably worse ones, but my gosh, this irritated me. It could be a battle sequence. It could be dialogue. It could be simply standing still and this freaking girl's clothes fall off. It is so absurd to the point I stopped watching was because one character shocked some other character to boost her, I think. I don't know. It's weird. I stopped watching the show. There's other problems with it besides that, but we're just going to focus on the fan service. So yeah, this is also just bad fan service. It serves no point than to give people something else to. So after that rant, all this coming together is for fan service to at least make sense with the story and not become a useless scene. Fan service is a tough discussion because people do really like it. Also, you can like these movies that I mentioned if it's something you're into. Most of the hate for fan service is because some people would rather movies or shows rely on good storytelling to hype us up than a cheap cameo. That's just mostly how I feel. If you like the way they use fan service in movies or shows like this, then it's like, alright, good for you. However, there is one movie